Innovation isn't about changing statistics. It's about changing human lives. We're gathering startups from around the globe to join us in this movement. Together, we can use disruptive technology to solve some of humankind's greatest challenges, not only for this generation, but for every generation to come.
Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to XTC Israel, the regional finals of Extreme Tech Challenge. Forbes calls it the world's largest startup competition for social entrepreneurs. And indeed, in just a few moments, we'll reveal 3 startups, 3 winners that are changing lives around the world. I'm Dan Fishel, partner of strategic initiatives at OurCrowd, and we are proud to be hosting the regional finals for the 2nd year. Our partners for the event are Samsung, Pitango, Entrée Capital, BGV, and Hyundai. So what's XTC all about? Let's hear a quick word from Bill Tai, XTC co-founder.
The XTC was designed to help highlight companies solving for the world's toughest challenges. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals gave us a fantastic framework. It's really a community. It incorporates big companies, universities, venture capitalists to help these companies get to where they need to go a little bit faster.
Why don't we take a quick look at last year's regional finals at the OurCrowd Global Investor Summit in Jerusalem for a quick refresher of how it looked a year ago.
Great, so I'm very happy to announce our 3 winners of XTC. First, Kashtan, CEO of Rewire. Rewire is a company that developed an international neobank for the migrant workers, enabling them to manage and control their finances and secure the future of their family.
Now, for the first welcome of the day, I am pleased to be joined by Rutie Adar, head of Samsung Strategy and Innovation Center in Israel. Hi, Rutie. Watching this video, it looks almost surreal. You know, it's just been a year ago, 3,000 people, no social distancing in the largest auditorium in Jerusalem for our summit, just days before Israel went into a first lockdown. So how is this first year, maybe the last 12 months have been for XTC? What has changed?
I would say this, first of all, the competition really saw tremendous growth. We just see that the wish of startups to operate in areas where they can provide impact. And it grew by almost 50% from 2,400 to 3,700. We almost doubled the number of regional competitions into 21. And I think what's more exciting this year is that we were able to operate really in 6 continents. We added Latin America, we added Africa, we had 2 regional competitions in India. So really, XTC, I think, is here for everyone and everywhere. And with the COVID-19, with the lockdowns, with the different countries going into lockdown in different time zones, in different times, we were able to have the competition growing by such a large number. That's really exciting.
So it's really good to see that you've been enjoying the same and probably even more of the hyper growth that tech has been experiencing over the last year. But eventually, we're talking about improving human lives. So I'm just wondering, is there any startup that really got into your heart by overseeing this process?
Well, that's an excellent question, because really there is. And I would like to talk a little bit about TytoCare because I have a personal angle here. So TytoCare is a healthcare company that won last year's COVID-19 award. And my daughter, she was just finishing her MD studies. She worked as an assistant physician in an Israeli hospital that had a lot of corona patients. And she and the staff did not have enough safety gears. So they were really concerned of being exposed and having the staff have to go home. And Title Care within weeks was able to put a remote monitoring system, keeping the staff, the medical staff safe and being still able to monitor at the top quality their patients remotely. And for me, that was really exciting.
Thanks for sharing and best of luck to your daughter. Thanks, Rutie. We will get back to you very shortly to announce the winners. But before that, a quick word from Laly David, partner and head of business development at OurCrowd. Laly.
Thank you, Dan. It really has been a pleasure to collaborate last year with Samsung on hosting the XTC, and we're delighted to be collaborating again this year and truly appreciate the professional judging process alongside our co-judges from leading Israeli VCs. And this process gives, I think, all of us the opportunity to put a direct spotlight on the impact that is created or will potentially be created by the startups that have applied for this important competition. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Laly. Now, for an insider's view on the Israeli startup ecosystem, here's a message pre-recorded by our CEO, John Medved.
So basically, I like to start with just a quick update about what's going on in Israel with the vaccination situation. We've been known for a long time in Israel here as the startup nation. We're now becoming known as the vaccination. This is a slide from just a week ago, and the data is still equally dramatic, showing how Israel literally leads the world in terms of vaccination. Our whole economy has come back to normal. We've actually had, finally on Saturday, the first day in 10 months where there was not a single COVID death, and we're able to wear no masks outside, and business is booming. In fact, when you look at how Israel stacks up in terms of innovation around the world, don't take it from me. Listen to the World Economic Forum, those people at Davos who probably will be regathering again this year in January, and they rank us #1 in a lot of critical arenas such as R&D expenditures, attitudes towards entrepreneurial risk, multi-stakeholder collaboration, etc. Now, if you look at this in numbers, it's actually rather dramatic. We had a great decade, growing from about $2 billion of investment to about $10 billion in investment last year. Except look what happened in the first quarter of this year. The first quarter has simply been an unbelievable quarter with $5 billion invested in Israel. We're on track to double that 10 billion to be something like 20 billion this year. Now, you all know that when a company doubles year to year, that's pretty exciting. But when an ecosystem, a whole country doubles, that's just really explosive. And that's what's going on in the Israeli tech ecosystem at the moment. In fact, there are 63 Israeli founded unicorns. Some of them are headquartered in New York. Some are in Silicon Valley. A big chunk of them are still headquartered here in Israel, but they're unicorns with a blue and white flag. We're very proud of the fact that Israel today represents about 10% of the world's unicorns. And the tech ecosystem here is really operating as a well-oiled machine with thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs who are being nourished and essentially working on the flywheel together with IDF tech units, multinationals aplenty, incubators and accelerators, tons of VC funds, private equity getting into it, and thousands of angel investors. Now, when you add to this mix what's going on with Israel and the Gulf, it gets really interesting. Obviously, this was signed not even a year ago. We're about, I think, 6 or 7 months into this agreement with our new friends in the UAE and elsewhere, and it's pretty remarkable. In particular, there's a venture capital romance, and we have been very, very active in terms of leading this process, having a team of already 6 people down in the Gulf and doing all kinds of activity. Feel free to reach out to us if you have ideas or suggestions regarding this.
So very soon, we're going to announce the winners of XTC Israel. But first, a live example of the value that a startup can get by winning XTC. And I'm referring to Rewire. We saw them later on stage. They won both the regional and then continue to win the global competition. Rewire's story is a great example of the purpose of XTC, not just to acknowledge and expose companies to the world, but also to expose them to a network that can help them grow and succeed. So following Rewire's win last year, they raised a $20 million Series B round led by OurCrowd with an investment from one of the judges, Jerry Yang, who happens to be the co-founder and former CEO of Yahoo. Now, I'm very, very pleased and privileged to invite to our virtual stage Yang's son and Guy Kashtan. Yang's son is chairman of the board at HARMAN International, former corporate president and chief strategy officer at Samsung Electronics, and co-founder of XTC. Guy Kashtan is co-founder and CEO of Rewire. Guy and Yang, over to you.
Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody and for your extra support and OurCrowd in particular and partners for Tech for Good. And I am really happy to see so many exciting companies that are trying to make the difference and impact. So Guy, good to see you again. I'm so happy that you won your FinTech category last year. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation on your journey.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here and happy to connect again. And of course, very excited still about our winning last year.
I still remember when I did the judging with my judges, that was July of last year. And the middle of pandemic, of course, we couldn't see each other, but through online, we could communicate. And what it reminded me is that there are so many people out there that need help in terms of the identity and ability to get in touch with their families, particularly being able to transmit and rewire their information, their money has been a big problem. So tell me about how do you go about starting your company and how did it come about to do this particular target group? Because I'm sure you could have done FinTech for many other people, but you really decided to migrants as a target market.
So it's a great question. And we started more than 6 years ago and in general to research FinTech and specifically the payments industry. And it was pretty clear early on that migrants, first of all, are a very large group of over 250 million migrants sending back home over $700 billion every year. And also they did not at the time have significant or enough solutions to provide them with the services that they need. Most of the services at the time focused only on money transfer itself, which is a big part of what they need. But when we are looking today at the financial needs of migrant workers, and even more so during the pandemic, financial accessibility for additional services, not only money transfer, is becoming critical for our customers group. And instead of going wide with a general payment service, we actually decided to double down on the potential impact we can have on migrants communities themselves and their families, which are a big part of the context for the services we create, and provide them with accessible services from the banking world in both countries where they are currently living, their host country, but also their home countries like the Philippines, India, China, Nigeria, etc.
So, Guy, often when you are a migrant, you leave everything behind your home, whether you're Syrian refugees, whatever. And then when you get to the new country, you're now transplanted yourself. You have no history in terms of credit, no trustworthy, no assets, no relatives. How then do you provide the banking service when you actually don't have all these backgrounds? So traditionally, the banking wants all that information, but now you're providing a service without having those informations behind it.
So it starts with the fact that the traditional banks, in most cases, are not interested in the migrants community because they earn money, they send most of it back home, they don't consume it locally, they don't receive any credit. So the local banks don't really have the incentive to build the products for the migrants community. It's not that they can't, it is just not a large enough customer base for them. This is not the main population within the country, and it's harder to serve them. But when we're looking at our mission, which is to create the financial services for migrants across the world, we're not looking at a specific country. We are creating solutions, for example, for overseas Filipinos, for non-resident Indians across the world, which is why over time it makes both impact and financial sense for us to provide these services. We start, of course, with the services that don't require the credit history, like a local account, a local debit card, local payment services, and over time evolve to additional services like insurance and credit. So we start and we actually help the customers build their credit history, which we also plan to help them then get this credit history back home. Many of our customers ask us for different type of statements on their activity with us to actually prove to the banks in their home country how credit worthy they are. So we plan to help them build this credit throughout their migration while providing them additional services in both countries.
And I understand that you're supporting this with multiple languages. In fact, I read 8 different languages that you're providing. So you also help to bridge communication gap the migrants typically have when they go to the new country. So that's really good to see, not only providing service, but also bridging the communication gap. But is migrant good business? Is loss ratio less than other users? I'd like to get your comments as a business perspective. What's the risk profile and risk appetite?
So when we're looking at our business aspects, at the end of the day, we're a double bottom line company, which means we have our focus on impact on one hand, but we're still a for-profit company. Our investors are mostly venture capital and banks, and they, at the end of the day, expect to also see a profit in specifically fintech, B2C, and especially when you're looking at the migrant world. It's good business when you are very big. So right now, we are, of course, still building a lot of our growth. We have almost 500,000 registered customers by now, but we are still growing. When we get to where we want to get, which is multiple millions of customers over the next few years, operating across multiple geographies, at that time, we also plan to reach break even, because in what we do, economy of scale is significant, both in our cost and in our revenues. And by also introducing additional services and building the credit history, we can also provide more cost-effective solutions and over time create a higher lifetime value per customer while still actually reducing the cost of the services that we provide to our customers.
So basically what I'm hearing is the remittance is one aspect of banking, but clearly you want to help and support migrant as the clients, that any clients wants to have a full banking, whether it's a loan, whether it's a credit card, or other kind of mortgage payment even. So you want to be a bank that can provide migrant as the target market, which is great. Now tell me a little bit about scale. What size are you and what are the key metrics you're looking at?
So key metrics we're looking at are the number of active users that we have today, the volumes of money that we hold and process for our customers. We are looking at almost 500,000 registered customers, and we're processing over $600 million every year. This has been more than doubling year after year. We actually almost tripled during the pandemic because of the large shift from offline to online and our accessible services, including what you mentioned before, multiple languages, 7 days a week support, etc. So those are the key metrics that we are measuring today. The next metric that is going to be critical in our growth is the percent of users using the additional services that we provide. So in addition to remittance, which is used by a broad base of our customers, how many of the customers also use our debit card and then also loans, insurances, etc. So this is what long-term would make us from a current neobank service to our customers to long-term a full-fledged bank for our customers.
Now, Guy, you are a bank, it's really banking as a service. So in a way, you are, I would imagine, regulated industry, which means that scalability is an issue because each government, each territory, you have to get a special license and making sure within the law of fintech industry guidance. Am I right on that?
You are very right. Today, first of all, we have our own licenses in Europe and in Israel. We are an electronic money institution in the Netherlands that is passported to all of the European Union. This is actually, we also acquired this license recently in December 2020, during the pandemic as well. So we are regulated. Everything we do has to do with regulation, whether it is on customer privacy, financial crime, anti-money laundering, etc. So in every product, in every geography we open, there are specific hurdles and compliance aspects that we need to handle. It is slowing down scalability. If we were an online software as a service company, we would already be available across the world. But it just means that the barriers to entry are also bigger. So we are learning how to expand faster. In the last 2 years, we expanded throughout the European Union to most countries. And the more we grow, the faster we plan to expand by building additional teams and already creating the playbook of how we actually operate in new countries. Like you said, we also are using banking as a service platform. In the beginning, we used it also for the regulatory aspects, but today, since we have our own license, then we manage all of the compliance aspects.
Right. Now, you talked about earlier expanding your service to your clients, which I think is great. I'd like to get your perspective around what's really hot nowadays, the cryptocurrency, whether it's something that you would think about doing.
So there's a joke, I hope it will translate, that when you go to a bank and tell them that you are a financial services company, they show you the door. But because it's hard for them to work with financial services in many cases. But when you go to a bank and tell them that you're a financial services handling crypto, they show you all of the doors. So because we choose to collaborate with banks and we work very closely with them, both in the home country and the sending country, we actually don't handle crypto at all by decision. It is generally high risk for multiple aspects. Banks today are really avoiding collaborating on that. So we have decided for now not to handle crypto at all. We do expect it to become more mainstream over the coming years and for it to be more broadly used. And we put ourselves in the early innovating banks within that category of how do we handle crypto. So right now we don't handle it at all and do expect to handle some parts of that in the coming years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Fair enough. What is your vision? I know you've been at it now for a while and you have the traction. Looks like you're managing over $600 million of the transactions per year, I think, that what I heard. Yes. And if you project it out, let's say 5 years, for instance, where do you think Rewire will be?
So I'll start with our vision, which is to empower every migrant to fulfill their full financial potential for them and not less important for their families as well. And everything we are doing is in order to serve the blue-collar migrant workers, every service we create, every additional feature we add. So this is the main flag that we are carrying for the next several years. In several years from now, we plan to be available in more geographies, both in the more Western world and in potentially in East from Israel at least. We plan to provide additional services across credit, across insurance, of course, across savings as well. We plan to double down on those services in our customers' home countries as well, so not only in the developed countries. And of course, we'll be regulated in many more countries than we are today. So mostly around expansion, both geography and product lines within the vision that I said.
Great. And lastly, what are your challenges that you have to deal with as you want to scale, providing service to migrants, which is really great because they might not have a lot of choice. They might not be able to get banking. And I know also from my own experience, Western Union charge you a lot of money for rewiring money. So I think there's a lot of cost along with inconvenience issues, and you're solving all those problems. And I see the benefit. What are some of the challenges that you have to continue to work on to make it scalable and being able to reach all the people that need to get the benefit of your service?
So we touch one of the challenges, which everything we do is tied with compliance. So there is some aspect of challenges there, and we put compliance first in everything that we do, which means that sometimes we need to wait for a license, hold off on some of the services we would want to provide to our customers. This is one, and we are overall handling that very well. The other is that in many cases, and especially in the upcoming products, it is going to be the first time our customers are consuming this type of service. So for example, most of our customers have never had a life insurance, have never had health insurance for their families, have never received a loan, have never taken a mortgage. So in addition to providing these services, in addition to creating the credit score on the customers that we serve, we also need to educate them on the different services that we are going to provide. And the last one is distribution. So distribution of trust, I would say. So many customers already know about us, and every country where we launch our services, it starts from a certain distrust because they don't yet know our service. But the more we grow within the countries where we operate, the more, by the way, friend referral is our main growth engine. So more than half of our customers today are coming through organic channels, including friend referral program. And building that in every country is a part of the challenge that we deal with as well.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, guy. I really appreciate your support on this. I know 9 finalists from last year's XTC together, you have generated over $120 million worth of investment fund support, which I'm really proud of because I did not expect it to be that big. Someone asked me that question 2 years ago in a stage when I announced XTC. I said, it'll be great if we can get 10 million, but actually it exceeded my expectation. It shows that when you are working on a startup, tech for good, it can be also very good business. And wishing the best on your journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yang San, Chairman of HARMAN International, and Guy Kashtan, CEO of Rewire, thank you very much for this lovely conversation. And Guy, best of luck as you continue to grow and scale your company. We in OurCrowd were always there to continue and support. Thanks to both.
Thank you very much.
So, the big moment has arrived. Time to announce the winners of XTC Israel 2021. I'd like to welcome back Rutie Adar.
Thank you. And just one sentence before we announce the winners. We took all the applications that arrived for the companies for XTC Israel regional competition, and we scored them based on 2 merits. One is like an investor from the point of view of return on investment, and the other one was on their impact. And we selected 10 best companies that pitched to my fellow judges. And today we are very proud to announce the 3 winners. So the first company is BrainQ, a company in the healthcare business, treating people after stroke. And please welcome Yotam Drexler.
Hi, thank you, Rutie. So as Rutie said, BrainQ is developing a life-changing breakthrough therapy to treat stroke patients in the home. This is a very much of a game changer versus other therapies that exist today. And we look forward to making it to the market in about 2 years' time in the US.
Thank you very much, Yotam. And the second company is Apollo Power, a company that is working on solar energy. And please welcome Elat Sharabi.
Thank you very much, Rutie. It's a pleasure for us to be in this competition. Apollo Power is an innovation company in the field of solar energy. Our mission is to rethink energy using our proprietary technology, the Apollo Film. Apollo Film is designed to solve different energy challenges and is already deployed in several places all over the world in order to bring limitless energy for everyone. Thank you.
Sounds very good. And last but not least, it's my pleasure to announce Testmaster, a company in the highly needing education field. Please welcome Ariel Milgram.
Hi, thank you, Rutie. Testmaster has brought a major change in the learning process never seen before in African societies. Our goal is to impart to any student the ability to easily and effectively realize his or her own learning potential in places where educational systems failed or are facing severe challenges. Testmaster's mobile app models the most extraordinary teachers in a country into what is perceived to be the best private tutor pupils could ask for, like a teacher that never sleeps, throughout short, intuitive, accessible, and ultra-affordable exercises and tutorial videos. With hundreds of thousands of grateful students and teachers in just a short time, Testmaster's impact is by no doubt transformative, not to say disruptive. And finally, thanks to our African employees and partners, consisted of committed, professional, and passionate individuals, we're able to bring lights of hope to millions of children, their parents, and their societies.
Thanks so much. Really 3 amazing companies. And these companies are going to compete in the global categories. And we're going to announce XTC global category winners on July 1st. And then please join us on July 22nd with TechCrunch, where we're going to have our XTC global winners announcement, adding also the special awards and the winner of XTC Global for 2021. Thank you, everyone.
So big congrats for the winners, BrainQ, Apollo Power, and Testmasters. As we say in Hebrew, taviu lanu kavod, and best of luck in the next phase of this competition. Now, Laly, back to you because you have a very special announcement to make.
Yeah, well, the announcement is that next year's regional semifinals will be truly regional, encompassing the whole Middle East. We will benefit from the breakthrough Abraham Accords, and the XTC Israel will become XTC Middle East. We're very much looking forward to hosting this again.
So definitely, Laly, we'll be talking for maybe 30 years about the new Middle East, and it looks like technology can definitely make that new Middle East actually happen, bring together countries that used to be enemies just a year ago. So as Laly said, next year, regional finals would be Middle Eastern, Greater Middle Eastern, and will once again happen on stage in Jerusalem at the OurCrowd Global Investor Summit. It's please mark your calendars, March 10th, 2022. You can register at events.ourcrowd.com. That's been our 2021 regional finals of XTC, the Extreme Tech Challenge. Thanks very much for being with us, and goodbye.